What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel as bowl game preview predictions continue today. Hey, want to wish happy holidays everyone out there watching, whether you're watching this before the holiday season, afterwards, whatever you celebrate. Happy holidays to everyone watching. We're diving into more bowl game preview predictions. This is the Duke's Mayo Bowl from Charlotte, North Carolina, and it features a hometown team in the North Carolina Tar Heels up against the West Virginia Mountaineers. ACC versus Big 12. We'll dive on into everything Tar Heels and Mountaineers here in just a little bit. But you guys know I have to thank you for all the love and support you've shown the channel during the regular season, and it's continued into the postseason as well. Continue to show your support, and the way you do that is you interact with the channel, really in any way you can think of, whether it's watching the video, doing the big thing, hitting the subscribe button, ringing the bell, or simply liking, commenting, or sharing. You guys are helping to support what I do here on YouTube, so thank you so much for all of your love and support. And before we dive on into this one, as I've said, without every single bowl game preview prediction I've done so far, can be a little tricky to determine who's opting out, who's entered the transfer portal, things like that, and I'm sure there are going to be more names that come about. So Tar Heel fans, Mountaineer fans, if I miss a name or there's something that comes out after I record this video, leave it in the comment section down below. I'd be happy to hear what you guys have to say. But enough about that. Let's dive on into this game between the Tar Heels and the Mountaineers. This is going to be a very interesting and fun matchup. I'm here to break it down for you right now. Let's dive on into the statistics that both these teams have put up so far this season, and we know the dynamic ability of this North Carolina Tar Heel offense. It starts out with their quarterback in Drake May, who will not be playing in this game. He has opted out to prepare for the NFL draft. 600, or not 600, yeah, 600, but 3,608 yards, 24 touchdowns, 9 picks on 63% completion percentage. The quarterbacking duties will be done by Connor Harrell in this game. He is 4 of 6 for 71 yards and a touchdown so far this season. But he's also going to be without a pretty key weapon here in Devontae Walker. He had the whole transfer portal situation. Yeah, was the leading receiver after missing quite some time of games at the start of the season. He ended up being the team's leading receiver. Leading receiver with 41 catches, 699 yards, and 7 touchdowns. He is opted out as well. He will also not be playing. Corey Gaynor, the starting center, will not be playing either. But this is an offense that still has a lot of talent. Staying in the wide receiver room, you have J.J. Jones, Nate McCullum, and Kobe Paysor, as well as a couple tight ends there in Bryson Nesbitt and John Copenhaver. So still some very, very nice weapons. And then out of the backfield as well, Omarion Hampton, 1,442 yards and 15 rushing touchdowns. He's a really, really dynamic threat. So even without Drake May, this is an offense that is going to remain dynamic. It just depends on how much, I guess on how well Connor Harrell ends up playing this game, because this team doesn't turn the football over. They're really good on third downs, but albeit the offensive line definitely does have some work to do, and being without Corey Gaynor, your starting center, that's definitely going to put a damper on what this offensive line is able to do, both in run blocking and in pass protection, as well as just leadership on that defensive line, or I should say on that offensive line. Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. And hey, this is the team that did some things pretty darn well. I mean, they forced turnovers. They have a +9 turnover margin on the year, and it's all thanks to that defense. They forced 23 turnovers so far this season. They've generated 27 sacks. That's right around 2.25 sacks per game. In fact, I think that's exactly 2.25 sacks per game right there. But when you take a look at this team in terms of limiting other teams' abilities to drive down the field, that's where this team is shaky. I mean, this rush defense is not great. Yes, there are some really good pieces in the pass rush, most notably there in Kamon Rucker, who has 8.5 sacks this year, as well as Cedric Gray, who has 121 tackles and 5 sacks. However, Cedric Gray is also one of the players that have opted out there. 30 more tackles than the next leading guy on the team. That is Power Eccles. He'll play a big part in this game as well. But again, no part of this defense is really fantastic. I mean, this isn't a superb rush defense. This isn't a superb pass defense. Yes, they have 38 pass defended and 12 interceptions on the year. So again, it's a defense that forces their turnovers, but no part of this defense, besides maybe its ability to force turnovers, is really fantastic. And the rush defense, not fantastic. The pass defense, not fantastic. Yes, the pass rush has its moments, and they're a pretty solid third down team. But overall, there definitely has been still some work to do with this Tar Heel defense, and it's especially going to come in here when you play a West Virginia Mountaineer team that just has a ton of really, really good firepower. So when you take a look at this West Virginia offense, first and foremost, it is all about the run game. They have 3 guys on this team that are all above 700 rushing yards on the season. That is CJ Donaldson, who's the leading rusher, has 798 yards and 11 touchdowns so far this year. And then you also take a look at the guy right behind him in Jaheim White, 792 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season. And then the quarterback, Garrett Green as well. Neal Brown is not a guy that's had a lot of dual threat quarterbacks. He had one this year in Garrett Green, and it paid its dividends. Passing, had 2,178 passing yards with 15 touchdowns. So only 4 picks. And again, is another guy over 700 yards rushing, 708 yards and 13 rushing touchdowns for Garrett Green. He is a huge part to what this team does offensively, and there really are no dynamic offensive weapons out. Yes, there are some good wide receivers. Devin Carter, you have the tight end Cole Taylor, as well as Hudson Clement there as well. Another guy over 350 yards is Preston Fox. Again, not a team that's going to pass the ball first. This is a run-first team. The offensive line is tremendous. They don't turn the football over. They're solid enough on third down for it to matter in games. But West Virginia really struggled against teams that were bowl teams. I mean, West Virginia just racked up wins against some lesser competition. The schedule was not super challenging, and they really got ransacked by any Big 12 contender that they played. And also their center, Zach Frazier. Yeah, well, he had surgery. He's going to be missing this game. And he's also entered that transfer portal, I do believe, there as well. Now, taking a look at the defensive side of the ball here for the West Virginia Mountaineers, again, they have a pretty solid pass rush. They've generated 26 sacks, 52 passes defended to 9 interceptions. They've also recovered 4 fumbles on the season as well, so give them 13 turnovers. Again, not a team that turns the football over a lot offensively, much like North Carolina, but they also don't force turnovers defensively. They really just come down to, hey, this defense has a bend but don't break mentality. Sure, it breaks sometimes, but it doesn't always break, and the rush defense is a big part in that. They allow under 150 rush yards per game. That's going to take a big hit, though, when Mike Lockhart has entered the transfer portal. You also take a big hit in the secondary when Hershey McLaurin entered the transfer portal there as well. Had 44 tackles, half a sack, 3 passes defended. Really, really good. However, you keep Beanie Bishop, a guy that has 20, not making this up, 20 passes defended on the season. So it's a West Virginia team that up and down is really, really strong, which leads me into my what to watch for, kind of like your keys to the game, just some things I think you should keep an eye on while you're paying attention to this one. Let's start out with the general key for North Carolina. Turnovers can't plague the offense. There have been points this year where, look, North Carolina, throughout the majority of the season, have been really, really good at taking care of the football. But in a couple of these losses, turnovers have really plagued this team, and when turnovers rack up on this North Carolina team, that's when the confidence of this offense just plummets. It dwindles, and time of possession is crucial in this game. West Virginia, with how much they love to run the football, in fact, looking at the times they've called plays here, 535 runs, only 308 passes for West Virginia so far this season. So when you go ahead and you take a look here at this West Virginia team, they are going to control the time of possession battle, right? If you're North Carolina, you got to hold on to the football as long as you possibly can. And Harrell, the first name is escaping my mind. I'll double check that there. Connor Harrell, he needs to be efficient in this game. He needs to be like Drake May, not in the way that he needs to take all these big flying deep shots down the field like Drake May often does, but he needs to be efficient in his passing, hit these short ones over the middle, continue to move the offense down the field, be effective when you need to be, and don't turn the football over, much like what that first key is telling you. But defensively, you got to find a way into the backfield to slow down this run game. You got to be able to force some turnovers. You got to be able to get Garrett Green to the ground and keep him inside the pocket as well. Moving on into the keys for the West Virginia Mountaineers, continue to ground and pound away. Again, for the most part this season, this has just been a very, very questionable North Carolina Tar Heel team. And I've talked about how, look, this pass rush is pretty darn solid. Well, a third of those sacks that North Carolina has generated this season, or just about, came in the first game of the year against South Carolina. Other than that, they haven't really been a terrific pass rushing team, so you can continue to ground and pound away. This is a North Carolina defensive front that with all it is losing as well, especially the big play ability there of Cedric Gray. Garrett Green's going to be able to get outside of the pocket. These West Virginia running backs are going to be able to get outside and run, so continue to ground and pound away. But defensively, and I think this is what West Virginia is going to do really, really well, you need to put the pressure on Connor Harrell. Stop the run, stop Omari and Hampton, stop this run game from getting anywhere, and let this defensive pass rush take over. Make Harrell win the game. Harrell's going to be efficient enough to keep North Carolina in this one, but can he provide the big playability of Drake May? That's an interesting thing to watch for. West Virginia is without key pieces too. But when you take a look at the side of North Carolina, I think they're just missing a ton of really dynamic weapons. I mean, without the big playability of Drake May, I think they're in trouble. Without the big play downfield threat of Tez Walker, I think they're in trouble. Without their starting center, I think they're in trouble. And then without Cedric Gray, one of the leaders, the leading tackler on this defense, he is so, so good. I think this North Carolina team is in some real trouble here. I think Connor Harrell is going to play well enough to have North Carolina hang in this game. But I do have the West Virginia Mountaineers being able to pull out this win. A little bit more defense than I think some people are going to expect out of this one. Clearly not Vegas. But I think there's going to be a little bit more defense than some people are expecting from a game involving North Carolina this season. But I think the run game, offensively and defensively, will win the day for West Virginia. They win 27-24. Let me know how you guys see it playing out in the comment section below. And as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See you guys in the next video. Goodbye.